Good evening. It gives me great pleasure to extend to all of you a very warm welcome on behalf of the Human Relations Commission, and to say how honored we are to have Chancellor Roberts from the School of Science and Math accept our invitation to be here today. Chancellor Roberts has had an illustrious career. If I mentioned all of his accomplishments, we would be here all night. However, allow me to take this opportunity to mention a few. In 1986, he graduated from Duke University, where he received a Bachelor of Arts. In 1994, he was a graduate of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill with a Master of Education and Educational Leadership. In 2002, he again was a graduate at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill with a Doctorate of Education and Educational Leadership. In 2006, he worked as a superintendent of Ann Arbor Public School in Massachusetts for 4+ years. And at present, Dr. Roberts is Chancellor of North Carolina School of Science and Math in Durham, North Carolina. In January of this year, I had an opportunity to hear Dr. Roberts speak at a community forum in Durham, North Carolina. The topic of discussion centered on the proposed expansion of a Western campus here in Morganton, as proposed by the North Carolina legislators in a Connect NC bond package. Later in March of this year, the bond passed. I look forward to hearing more of the expansion plans, as I am sure you do as well. So without further ado, would you please stand as I present to you Dr. Todd Roberts, Chancellor of the School of Science and Math in Durham, North Carolina. Dr. Roberts.
Thank you guys all. I appreciate it. And I guess I probably have to stand here so that the microphone will work, and I think things are being recorded. So I'll stand here. And so thank you so much, Ms. Surratt, for your warm welcome back to Morganton. This has been now in the past couple of years at least the 6th or 7th time that I've been to Morganton to talk with folks. And this is the 2nd time that I've been to the area since the bond passed. A lot of the first parts were in initial stages of conceiving the Western campus expansion and also then campaigning for the bond itself. And so what I'll try to do tonight is to walk you through, and I'm not sure how many folks here this evening know that much about the North Carolina School of Science and Math as a program that's existed now for 36 years. So I'll give you a little bit of an idea of what the school does now, and then focus in on what the where we are in the planning phases for the Western campus that will happen here in Morganton on the 800-acre site of public property that's here in the city, and talk a little bit about that, and then want to leave ample time for questions that you might have as well, so that we can get some of those answered. So I'll start just to say a little bit. This is my 6th year as chancellor at the North Carolina School of Science and Math, and Ms. Surratt mentioned that I was in Ann Arbor, Michigan as the superintendent prior to coming back to North Carolina, but I'm a native North Carolinian and grew up in Durham and went to the public schools in Durham and then to college there, and then down the road just a little bit to Chapel Hill. So I've been a part of North Carolina for the better part of most of my life, and so it's been, quite frankly, it's been great to spend as much time in Morganton. And for those, I keep telling folks that haven't been to Morganton and having a chance to visit the downtown and see all the stuff that's going on here, that it's a great place to be, and particularly on a day like today, it's a gorgeous drive to get here. So I'm happy to be here with you again this evening. And so I'll walk through some slides here, and just to remind folks how we got here, the Connect North Carolina bond issue was put forward, and the university system as a whole, almost $1 billion of projects for the university system. And our piece of that, our small piece of that $1 billion, is $58 million that was allocated for the western expansion of the North Carolina School of Science and Math. So, for those that might not have been paying attention as closely, it just didn't all of a sudden happen. There's been conversations really about expanding to Morganton in particular for over 3 years, and there's been quite a grassroots effort in the Morganton community to move this forward. But since 2006, really, there's been talk about expanding the school because we have reached our capacity for the number of students that we can accommodate in Durham at that point, and we have 680 students who live on campus, and so we turn away a lot of qualified students every year. And so there's been talk about expanding to serve the needs of students in North Carolina. And as you can see along the timeline that I put up there before you, in 2013 we were asked by the General Assembly to do a feasibility study of expanding to a western campus. Primarily the focus would be to look at Morganton as a site for that. So we, along with the Department of Public Instruction and the UNC General Administration, did that feasibility study. And the task was to identify how many qualified students apply each year that don't get served. And that study as we looked at only the applicant pool who was applying, it's about 150 to 200 students each year that apply that are equally as qualified as the students who get in who don't have the opportunity to attend. Many more apply. We had this past year 1,400 students apply for the 330 spots in the junior class. So there's been a need for this for some time, and when the bond proposal was developed, the General Assembly indicated that they wanted to move forward with the idea of expanding the school, and they wanted to do that here in Morganton. And so that's how we have gotten to this point. And fortunately, back on March 15th, the voters in North Carolina really overwhelmingly approved the Connect NC bond issue that has allocated $58 million when the bonds are sold for this project. So a little bit of history, but about where we are with the project. But I wanted to give you a little history and a little bit of information about the North Carolina School of Science and Math. And so we opened the school in 1980. Strangely enough, in an old hospital. As you think about the property that's over there in Morganton, there's one potential thought about where this might be. The school is now in its 36th year, and if you look at what our mission is then and now, was really to take talented students from across the state, give them an opportunity that they might not otherwise have for a fantastic STEM education, and to help to grow North Carolina's economy and to inspire innovation. And so that's what we've been doing for 36 years. This map shows you the blue counties are, in this current year, we have students in our program at NCSSM from all of those counties that are in blue. And so you see one of the areas that are generally the hardest to get students from are the very far west and the very far east. And having a campus in the western part of the state may make it more possible for some families to consider applying to the school from those areas. But we have students from 89 of the 100 counties in enrollment at our school. So it's a statewide school. And we'll talk a little bit more about how students get accepted. Our total enrollment, as you see here in our residential program, is 680 students, and that's the maximum we can take in terms of bed spaces. We also have a distance education program, and we teach this year 271 students, and next year over 350 students in our online program. And those students come to campus about one weekend a month to spend with us, and all of our residential students go home about one weekend a month. And so that's an opportunity for the online students to come to school. And as you can see, we have students from all over the state. And that's one of, as we get further into talking about the Western campus, that's one of the important considerations is as you talk to alumni, just how important that geographic diversity is into the experience of students on the campus. So a little bit more about the school, and why would the state be considering expanding the school? Obviously, we have much more demand for the program than we can currently accommodate, but also there's continued need to have students be prepared to go in and earn STEM degree and work in STEM jobs. I mean, if you look at the data that's out there in terms of the shortages in those areas and just some of the information that I put up here, there's a significant need, not only in our state, but nationally for people in STEM jobs. And our school has done a great job for now 36 years in helping to meet that demand. We have a great track record of students actually who graduate from our school going on to university in the state, and about 60% to UNC system schools, and another 10% to other schools in the state. So a lot of them end up staying in the state to go to school. And as I mentioned, to get kids to go into STEM degrees, our school, our graduates, when they graduate from undergraduate, they earn STEM degrees at 3 times greater than the national average. And our campus, our students who graduate earn STEM degrees at a greater rate than any of the other 16 university campuses when they graduate from college. So meeting that demand that's there for STEM is the school has a great track record of doing that over all these years. And also, when you think about return on investment, the people in the General Assembly and in general, people think about, well, is it a good investment? If you're going to be investing in something, what's the return on that investment? And so our oldest alumni now are about 52 years old. And about 60% of our alumni live and work in the state of North Carolina and contribute back about $500 million in annual economic impact based on a study that was done in 2010. And the state invests about $19 million in our school on an annual basis. So when you think about the investment and the return on that, it's a good investment for the state. And so there's a need for more STEM people earning STEM degrees. We have high demand for the program, and it's a good return on investment. So you can understand why the state is looking to expand the program. Just a little bit about, I'm going to go through these next slides really quickly, but just to give you a flavor for what the program looks like in Durham. And as we'll talk about in a little bit, we want to build on what we've learned over 36 years in Durham, but think about in 2016 what that might look like with the opportunity to have a second campus in Morganton. And we want this campus in Morganton to have its own unique program that would build on what we have, but take advantage and tap into the resources that are in the western region of the state. And so, but as a flavor of what we do in the Durham program, just an idea of some of the courses that students have. And as I flip through these, you'll see that a lot of the opportunities provided are much more like you would find at a university, an undergraduate experience, than a typical high school experience. And just some of the math opportunities, opportunities in science that you see. People, I always get this question. Usually get two questions from people who don't know much about the school. They think it's all math and science. That's all kids do all day long, is they just go and they take math and science classes. But a dean of our humanities department, she always starts her presentation by saying, although our name's not on the sign out front, we have a robust humanities program. And really, if you think about the importance of math and science, the big problems in the world don't get solved by science alone. There's a need for all of the other pieces, the economic pieces, the political, and all of the ability to talk about it and explain it. So we have a robust humanities program, and one of our music instructors just this year was selected as the Grammy Outstanding Music Educator in the country, and that's kindergarten through college, and so he now is a Grammy Award winner, and so outstanding humanities opportunities for students. We have our own computer science and engineering department that is kind of unusual to find at a typical high school. And one of the things that's really an important part of the program is how do we have students get an opportunity to apply what they're learning in real-world settings. And that's one of the things when we get to the end of the presentation that I'll talk about is that looks one way in Durham because of what Durham has and the resources that are there. It'll need to look different here in Morganton, but different is not bad. But it's important that we think about how do students get these opportunities. I was just on the ride up here listening to the NPR, and they were talking about a student who was graduating and going into the working world, and she was mentioned more and more. I heard her say real world opportunity at least 5 times, and that always catches my ear because we're always thinking about that. And in her experience at college, she's landed a job, and they talked about why she thinks she landed the job, and she gave a lot of that credit to the fact that she had those experiences along the way, and that's an important part of the program we have. And so what does that look like here in Morganton? And also, when you think about our program, a big part of it is the residential experience. And so we'll talk about that a little bit as well, because the kids are there 24/7. They're, so and we don't have a big fence around the campus. So they go off campus, they get out into the community, they do service, they want to have fun, they want to find places to eat. And so what does that look like, and how do you engage kids in the living environment as well? And I also want to mention the distance education program, because a Western campus will allow us an opportunity to expand really what's the fastest growing part of our program, and that's using virtual learning to engage students. And we do it a little bit different than you may see in a lot of places, because we do bring students into the campus for parts of their learning experience, and this will allow us to expand that. Just as an example, we do distance education in two different ways. Our online program, and you can see this is great for students who don't necessarily want to move away from home at 16 or 15 years old, and so they have an opportunity to engage with us in courses that they don't find in their home community. And then we partner with schools and school districts to offer courses through interactive video conference that our teachers teach to students all over the state that they might not have access to. We do a lot of other things. If you ever want to go, you check out our YouTube channel. You'll see there's lots of educational videos there, as well as, if you want to have music instruction from our Grammy Award-winning music instructor, you can go there and get some music lessons as well. And that's all free, and everything we do is at no cost to people. But that's one of the great things, is that kids are able to access the program, whether it's the residential program, the online programs, at no cost to them, which really makes it universally accessible to people all over the state, which is a great thing. So that's just a little bit of a history. So it gives you a flavor of what the program is now. But then thinking about, well, what might that look like here at a Western campus in Morganton? And so, I want to talk a little bit about that now, and then talk a little bit about where we are in the planning process for the Western campus. So, we've spent quite a bit of time over the past couple of years here in looking at what the opportunities are here. I'd say one of the most exciting things has been universally the excitement of not only the Morganton community, but really the Unifor area as a whole over the Western campus. And each time we've been up here and talked to people, whether in large groups or small groups, it's been great excitement, and there's been a real feeling of collaboration from all sectors of the community around this project. And been in meetings with business people, with the K-12 community, the community colleges in the area. I've had a number of conversations with my chancellor colleagues at UNC Asheville and App State and Western, who have a presence in Morganton. The local and regional governmental agencies. Everybody has been on board with this project since, and I'm going to tell you what, in my 20-plus years of school leadership, I don't know that I've ever had a project that I've been a part of that had generally universal acceptance from all sectors of the community. And so that's been really welcoming and encouraging to not only myself and our Board of Trustees, and I'll recognize Dr. Ellen Collett, who's a Morganton native, who's a member of our Board of Trustees at the North Carolina School of Science and Math. So it has really helped to take our NCSSM community, alumni, board members, and so forth, and help build their enthusiasm for the project as well over these years. And so there's a number of great resources that I wasn't as familiar with as I've come up here, that I think can help really shape the program design that we have for the Western campus. Some of the frequently asked questions, and this has been over since this first got started and the bond proposal was first put out there. We've had a few different community forums. We've had an online virtual way for people to ask their questions, and we've asked those things. What are your ideas? What are your concerns? What are your questions? And we sort of distilled that over, hundreds and hundreds of people have given us their questions, and we've distilled that into really the 4 main questions that we've heard over this time period. And from this, our strategic planning team got together and developed a strategy around this that takes into account some of these. But the 4 questions are: would students from Western North Carolina automatically be assigned to this school? We've answered that question consistently. We hope not. It certainly wouldn't be our decision to do it that way. And I go back to the importance of the geographic diversity. Now, could parents choose to go to this school because it was closer to their home? Absolutely, but it would be their decision and not an arbitrary assignment of the students. Second would be how many students would the school serve, and based on the feasibility study and based on what the funding that was put in the bond issue, it's about 300 students that would be served by the school, and that is 300 residential students that would be served by the school. And what's the academic program? That's where we are in right now in the next 12 months. That'll be the thing that we'll be working on in a collaborative planning process that I'll talk a little bit later about, is determining exactly what that program looks like. What are the different components of it? What are the unique components to this program from the Durham program? Because we want kids to decide where they go to school, and there needs to be some uniqueness between the two to help inform that decision. And then has the exact site for the school been determined? It has, in the sense that it's on that 800-acre piece of property in Morganton. That's where it will be located. Where exactly on that property is part of the work over the next 12 months, is to look at will it be in a current facility that is being vacated and that facility being renovated, or will it be a new construction, or will it be a combination of renovation and new construction? Those are all parts of the next 12 months that we'll talk about in just a second, looking at what the program will be and what facility will best be able to facilitate that program, and then also looking at the cost of the various options, because there's $58 million that's put in the bond for this project, and the project needs to fit in that number. And so I mentioned just about the time that the bond issue had been proposed, we were bringing back together our large strategic planning team to update our strategic plan at the school. One of the things that team looks at is what are the critical issues facing the school over the next 5 to 10 years, and clearly opening a second campus was one of those issues that was part of the conversation. And so that team developed a strategy to help guide the planning for this that really did it in a way that said, let's take a look at this Western campus as an opportunity to think about NCSSM as a whole. And from that came really the confirmation of thinking about the Western campus as a part of one school. There'd be one school, 2 campuses, as opposed to thinking about, well, here you have this and here you have that, and 2 separate entities. And that really, I think, has helped our school community buy into the Western campus in a very positive way. And so from that original the strategy that was developed, there was an action planning team formed, and that team spent time looking at all the feedback and going out and talking to people about the campus. And so from that, they've come up with 10 sort of guiding principles or results that they think that as the planning moves forward and a planning team looks at developing the program for the school, governance for the school, and all of those things, that these are important guiding considerations. One be that that there has to be state funding to adequately support all of the programs. If you ask me what my biggest concern about all of this would be, is that as you bring online a new campus, there has to be the appropriate funding to do it, and do it well, and do it right. Because there can't be a feeling that you're going to now do 2 campuses and they're neither one going to be adequately funded. So I think that's something that, we in every conversation I've had with people at the General Assembly, there certainly seems to be a commitment to doing that. But it's one that we will want to keep on the forefront of the conversation. A second is that all students will continue to apply the program of their choice. This gets back to that piece about are students going to be forced to go to one campus or another based on their zip code? We have not heard anybody say that's a good idea. If a family wants to choose a campus based on geography, that should be their choice. But we would also encourage them to look at the program that would best fit what they want to do. The next one is that all the programs should offer distinct value to the students and their families. That we don't, and what this means is that we don't want either program to be considered lesser than the other. And so it's really important to us to think about that if you attend Durham or you attend Morganton campus, that when you graduate, the value of what you graduate with in terms of your NCSSM diploma is equally as valuable. And so we want to make sure that happens. We think that, second to the funding issue, that's the thing that would be the biggest concern, is that if people felt like going to one place or the other was a consolation in terms of their admittance. And so you creating a program that makes sure that that's not the case. That we think it's important to involve a broad group of people in the planning process, and I'll talk a little bit more about the planning process in just a second. And that includes people from all sectors, whether that be the K-12 sector, the university sector, business, and that was very much the way in 1978 when this school was being planned that it happened, and it really, I think, was a smart way to do it in terms of lasting support for the school. The stuff will be in alignment with our strategic plan and our beliefs. And I don't need to necessarily read through all of these for you, but I'll just touch on a few of them. The second bullet point on this slide is we really think it's important to understand the value of the regional assets that will be available to the school in this regard, whether that's, how do you provide those real world experiences, or how do the regional assets that we have here help inform the educational program. And so over the next 12 months in the planning process, that'll be a big part of what we'll be doing, is looking at, well, what are those opportunities? How do you tap into the resources here to facilitate the program that you would have on campus, just like we do in Durham. We've been able to tap into the RTP and the university campuses there. So what does that look like here? Also, the last bullet point on this slide really focuses in on the one school, two campus concept, that we think it's important that there be the one school, two campus idea, or else, I think that if not, then it could easily lead to the lesser than, more than, and those types of things. And I think particularly in the outset of the opening of the school, that brand is important for students in terms of being attracted to the school, their families being attracted to the school. And so we've thought about it in this way since the beginning. And we haven't heard anybody say anything different that has influence on how this might happen. So, so I mentioned some of these, and I talked about the unique educational program that the Western Campus would have. And again, building on what we've learned over 36 years at NCSSM, but to take advantage of and maximize this region of the state. And I think it would be sort of folly to try to replicate exactly what is in Durham here. It's a different location, it's a different place, and there's different opportunities. And in these, and I hesitated to put these in the slide because as soon as you do, people will say, well, it's going to be these things. So I'll say this, is that this is just an example of what some specialized programming might look like that takes advantage of the unique resources in this area. This region, the Unifor region, has sort of become known as the data corridor. And I've had meetings with the folks from Google already a couple of times about this, and so is there the ability to create a very unique model program in data sciences that students might be interested? The natural resources in the area in this piece of property are unbelievable, and so when you think about sustainability and environmental science, and so are these specialized programs that we might have here, or advanced manufacturing, which is really important to this region. So really looking at what are the opportunities here, and as we go through the next 12 months in the planning process, thinking about what's unique about this particular program that would be really exciting for people. And also, from an NCSSM overall perspective, really allow us to grow our program in a way that is really exciting for the not only the school, but the state and the region as well. I talked about this as an important part of our program, and this will be an important consideration as we move through the planning process, is what are the opportunities here to give students those real-world learning experiences. You know, they may look different than those that we have in Durham, but that different might be really good. You know, we've been doing the way we do it in Durham similarly for many years now, and it's an opportunity to look at it in a fresh kind of way. And so, but we know that it's important. We know that it's important for students. I mean, a lot of students come to our program, and this is one reason that they say they come, is because we have these opportunities in a much different kind of way than they might find at their home high school. And that's no matter whether they're coming from a rural part of North Carolina or the Triangle. And so what does that look like? And that has to be an important consideration in order to, you know, continue to provide students the opportunities that they want and need. This is another big part. You know, when you think about, people think about the school, and they often think about, and we talk much more about all the amazing academic opportunities that they have there. But if you talk to the students, and you talk to the alumni about the thing that was maybe the most formative part of their experience, it's the living learning environment. What they learn from each other in a good way from 4:15 when classes get out till midnight when they go to sleep is a really formative part of what they do. There's a lot of learning that takes place in the residential environment. And it's not all about academics either, and they do have some downtime. And as I said earlier, we don't, you know, they're not locked in their dorms for 24/7. And so, part of what will be important from a community standpoint is, you know, what are the opportunities for students when they go off campus? What are the types of things? And a great thing is that Morganton has a cool downtown. You know, because, you know, right now they walk off of campus and they go down 9th Street, which is a cool street in Durham if you've ever been down there. And so, you know, how do the kids, are they able to get to downtown and take advantage of this? And it's great for downtown too. I mean, they go visit the coffee shops, they go visit the restaurants and do those types of things. They go to the movies. We bus them all over Durham, giving them chances to get out and have fun. And so what does that look like here? And also, a big part of that experience is service. There's a big commitment. It's a part of our program. It's a required part, and the kids go way beyond the requirements for service. And so, you know, what do those opportunities look like here in the local community that will bring value to this community as well as to the students? You know, how do they get out and have opportunities to give back to the community where they're benefiting from living, as well as the state as a whole? I mean, the graduating class this year will have done over 25,000 hours of community service, both in the Durham community and their home community. So that's one where it's a great two-way benefit, both the student and the community benefit by the students having this opportunity. And so, you know, hopefully there's a lot of people in here that you know, and you're sitting there thinking right now, well, heck yeah, I can find something for some really motivated, talented kids to do to help the community, because they'll need that opportunity and they'll want that opportunity. Also, really looking at this campus will expand our ability to serve more students through both distance education, you know, because right now we don't have any more space than we currently are using. And so if we can give an opportunity to expand those programs to serve more students. And our campus during the summer is just as busy as it is during the year. We run a number of summer programs, both grant-funded programs to serve students in the state, as well as programs that students come all over the world to attend. And so having an additional campus will expand opportunities in the summer for students as well. And from a community standpoint, one of the things that I think you will find interesting is as these people come into the school, whether the students that are going to be there for 2 years or whether they're families coming in to bring their students and drop them off for summer programs from all over the world, those folks get to know your community here as well. And so you think about, you know, getting hundreds of people each year coming into the community several times during the course of the year, getting to know this region of the state better is a direct benefit to the local regional community as well in terms of that. So it's a great partnership opportunity for the school and the community. And so the planning process, if you look at where we are, phase one of this was the bond, getting the bond passed. And so that's been done and that's been accomplished. And so we have a request into the General Assembly as we speak, for funding, for partial funding for the planning over the next 12 months. Some of the bond money would be used for that as well. And so we will be engaging a educational design partner to work with us on this, because in order to move along at a pace we want to move along with, we all have full-time jobs at school currently, and so we'll be engaging a planning partner to help come in to facilitate the planning process and move it along. And we plan to do a lot of engagement within the different sectors of the community in the planning process and to help facilitate that. And so as soon as the funding is available from the General Assembly, we'll be hiring, going out to RFP for that. And so we would, between August and June of next year, we will be developing the educational plan. So that's that kind of unique vision. So what does this program look like, in terms of the nailing down the number of students, what would be the unique components of the academic program, whether it be data sciences or advanced manufacturing or whatever those things might be. And about halfway through in December, January timeframe, once we are well along that process, we will be able to focus in and hire an architect at that point to begin looking at the site and helping with the site selection, which we would also have along the same timeline by June, a recommendation that we would come back with what would be the best option for locating the school on the 800 acres that are here within the cost, within the funds we have to do that. And so then moving from there into the design, architectural design, and then construction. And we've been working with the architectural folks at UNCGA and looking at a timeline for this going forward. And this is a busy slide that's hard to see probably where you are, but this sort of maps it out from where we are now until, and this is, in this model, it's 2021, August of 2021, that the school would open. The summer programs would open in the spring prior to that. And so, there's a possibility that it could move along faster and be 2020, but this is what the experts looking at it in terms of the bond funding draw, as well as the time from design and construction, that they think is safe to say that it would be certainly by August of 2021. And so we've moved along, and as I said, we'll be beginning the phase two part of the process that I just mentioned. And this process will, along with the folks that we hire as our planning partner in this, we will be establishing an advisory committee, which will be a larger group that would include people from K-12, higher education. It would include, students. It would include, faculty, staff, business leaders, and regional folks that would be there, that we would be coming back to on a periodic basis, saying this is where we are with the plan, getting feedback based on that plan at that point, the site selection and all of that. And then there'll be a core planning team, which would be a smaller planning team that would include people from the university, a couple of business folks, people from our faculty and staff involved in that, and a few other K-12 folks, but a much smaller. So the advisory committee is probably in the neighborhood of 25 to 30 people. The core planning team is much more like 10 to 12 people that would be working closely with the design consultant that we bring in to work on this process. And so, again, the goal, if you go back to the timeline for this, is it's up there, is between August and June that we would have the educational design part of this nailed down. The site recommendation would be nailed down and be ready to move into, at that point, the schematic design for the facility, which would take place beginning shortly thereafter, if you go back to you go back to that timeline, it's hard to see from where you are, but, you'll see where it says schematic design, that orange, that second little orange bar going from my left to right. So that is sort of an update from where we've been and where we're going over the next 12 months as we move the process forward. And we, you can go to our website, and we have a particular place on our website that we put up various updates as we have them confirmed in there. So I wanted to hopefully, there's time for us to have some dialogue and questions that I might be able to answer for you on any of the stuff I presented, or if you have a question related to anything else that you might be thinking about the Western Campus. I'm happy to answer any question that you might have. If I can't answer it, if we don't have an answer for it yet, I'll just say we don't have that answer yet. But if you would like to open it up for conversation, I'm happy to try to answer your questions.
Robert,
Yes, sir.
what size staff will be required for this 300 students?
Probably about 100 people would be, that's a pretty good estimate at this point, depending on exactly what the program is. But, based on our current staffing ratios, it would be approximately 100 people. That's what the plan is at this point, under that sort of one school, two campus model. There obviously would be someone who would be the, sort of equivalent to, in the university lingo, there would be vice chancellor, in the rest of the world, it's a principal kind of thing for this campus as well. But there would be some of the efficiency gained by the one school, two campuses is we wouldn't have a whole new admissions team or process. We have that. The back office business functions, we would have people here, but we wouldn't duplicate the entire administrative structure. There's some efficiency to be found, and our foundation board has already been meeting to discuss, one foundation or two, one foundation as well, and so there's a lot of things that we wouldn't try to duplicate just from an efficiency standpoint, and the whole idea of keeping it together as one school. So if over time, that it's found to be better to do it a different way, that might be the case. But right now, we think, at least certainly in this beginning of the school, the best model is this. So that's I would be the chancellor for both campuses at this point.
I know that it's still in the planning stage, but as far as the campuses, the dormitories, girl and boy dormitories, co-ed.
We don't have co-ed now. So certainly that could be, under the considerations of moving forward, but currently the dorms are male and female separated at this point. Yes, sir.
Chancellor, do you have anything like the middle college model that lots of community colleges have with their local school systems, such that, your people would be, by the time they've been a couple of years at your place, they're ready to be juniors in college and finish earlier and all those kinds of things?
We do. We have articulation agreements with all of the UNC system schools and some other non-UNC system schools. And by that I mean we have agreements that certain courses that we've both agreed on, if a student gets a B in those courses, then it counts for credit at those institutions. And so students can go into any of the UNC system schools with anywhere from a year to 2 years worth of credit.
So in some cases, your students are finishing faster when they go on to, at least in terms of their undergraduate degrees, the schools which accept.
Yeah, at the UNC system schools, that's exactly right. And many will go in and, be able to finish in 3 years at least, but often at times they'll go on and double major, or, at NC State, for example, the engineering programs, a lot of them take 5 years, and so it allows them to get through in 4. but it's a great advantage to them, both from a completion time and a cost perspective.
Does that work at all with any of the private universities?
We have a few private universities to this point, and we have, there's Meredith College, we have start naming them and I'll forget one. There's Oglethorpe College in Georgia, and there's one that I'm not thinking of this in Virginia that I can't think of the name of right now. So we have a few private institutions, but being a part of the university system, because I didn't mention this, but NCSSM is one of the 17 constituent institutions within the university system, and so those are sort of natural pairings for us in terms of those opportunities. And 60% of our kids go on to those schools when they graduate as well.
The humanities you mentioned is so strong. It will be a presence here as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. That's a core part, because one of the things that we are is a comprehensive high school, because we're preparing students to go on to college, and they need all of those. Whether it's we have opportunities for students to take Chinese, Japanese, French, Latin, Spanish, languages as well. And so, yeah, absolutely. I think, and we have, I didn't mention we have athletics. I mean, we just won 2 state championships. We just won the men's state 2A tennis championship on Saturday. And so there's, students are choosing to leave home. They're choosing to leave their home school. And for a lot of students, part of having a well-rounded life includes the arts, for example, being able to participate in drama or the orchestra, or being able to play sports. We have every interscholastic sport except for field hockey, lacrosse, and football. So they have plenty of opportunities, and there'd be a lot of students that might not make the decision to come if they didn't have those opportunities, and their life wouldn't be as full if they didn't have a way to get out and be active physically. And you learn a lot competing in sports, or you learn a lot playing in an orchestra. So the humanities is a rich part of the program, and absolutely would be a part of the program here as well. Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about the faculty, particularly at the current campus? What does the hiring process look like? Are a lot of the instructors maybe from out of town? Are they from the Durham area? And what sets them apart from a high school instructor?
There's a variety. There's more probably that are hired that don't live in Durham than do. About 40% of our faculty have PhDs in the subject they teach. They all have to have a master's in the field in their teaching. That's a requirement for being hired. And so in many of the faculty we hire come out of the university setting. There's more and more, it seems to be the case, that are coming from a university setting as opposed from a high school setting. But there's a mix teaching on campus. And so, so part of it is they don't have to be certified to teach in North Carolina, because we're not a part of the Department of Public Instruction. We're part of the university system. So some of the qualifications are different in terms of that. But, there are great teachers all across the state, and our school, we're fortunate to be able to typically get a strong pool of applicants to choose from, and we have a lot of faculty that stay there for their whole career. So it's pretty low. Matter of fact, the last original faculty member from 1980 retired. So that was after 36 years at NCSSM and 45 years teaching. So he's a matter of fact, if you read, we had a presidential scholar selected just last week, and they get to name a faculty member to receive an award as the most influential faculty member, and he was it after 46 years teaching. That's pretty impressive. So we're fortunate to get a lot of quality applicants, and then be able to retain them. It's a fantastic place to teach. Having been a high school teacher when I started out, it's a really great environment to teach in for a lot of reasons. Well, if there's no more questions, I mean, I'll hang around if you have a question that you want to ask that you didn't want to ask, and it's a big crowd. I'm happy to answer that. Yes, sir. Well, there's a lot of cool homes. I mean, so yeah, I'm sure that there'll be my time will be split between places, and I think, there'll be key administrators that will be, the lead administrator for part of the school that will be based in Morganton as well as Durham. So that's again part of the idea that that one campus shouldn't be considered more or less than the other, and so there will be vice chancellors that'll be here based as well as in Durham as a part of the process of the governance of the school. And the Board of Trustees, I mentioned Ellen is here. The Board of Trustees would govern both campuses. The Board of Governors, which we're part of the university system, would govern us just like they do now. All of that would be the same. So yeah, if you got a place you want to give me at a good deal, let me know. Yeah.
Regarding the schools that are already in existence here, the high schools and middle schools, would there be any programs or outreach programs, partnerships with the existing schools, and if so, what might those look like?
Yeah, we hope so, in both in the Morganton area as well as the region. We already have a great partnership with Burke County Schools, the STEAM Academy. When they were opening up the STEAM Academy, we worked with them on that, and we actually provide 3 or 4 courses that in the STEAM Academy through our interactive video conference, like Honors Aerospace Engineering is one of the courses that we teach to students in the STEAM Academy. So there's a variety of ways of doing that, just like we do at Burke STEAM, but there's also, since we'll be much closer in proximity, opportunities for students to be on campus and to share some of those types of resources, whether it be regular programs or summer programs. So we've already got a great, through our extended programs, whether that be distance education or teacher professional development or other things we do, we already work with the majority of school districts in the North Carolina is divided up into 8 education regions, and so we have a relationship with the majority of districts in each of those regions as it is, including the western part of the state. So we've already got good relationships established, and this will provide us an opportunity to do something, that we couldn't do from Durham for the regions in this area. So there's a lot of different ways we do that now that would probably be expanded.
How far in advance would a student put in an application for training school?
Our application process opens up in October. So October 15th is when it opens, and it closes January 15th of the year of their 10th grade year. They're applying in October of their 10th grade year. The application process closes in January, and they find out if they're admitted in April. And so it's that 10th grade year prior to 11. Yes, sir.
Actually, do you accept any day students, and if so, how far away, do you accept them?
We do not now accept day students. All the students, the students who are in the non-online and distance education programs all live on campus. We have students we have some, as a matter of fact, this year we have a student graduating who lives 2 blocks from the school, but they actually have to live on campus. And not to say that we might not do that here, again, because what we're doing is taking sort of an open look at this as we're doing this campus. And so, as I said, we're not trying to necessarily replicate exactly what we do in Durham here. We're trying to build on what we've done for 36 years, and so I don't want to rule out anything, including the potential for day students for some or a part of their program. Yep.
Do you have any students now from outside North Carolina? Is there a possibility that enrollment might be open to non-North Carolina students?
We do not now. Legislatively, you're required to be a resident of North Carolina to attend the school, and and I don't. I think as long as there's demand for qualified students in North Carolina that can't be met. I think it would be hard pressed to open up spaces for students where there's a waiting list for North Carolina students. So if we were able to fully meet the demand of students in North Carolina that are qualified, then could that be a possibility to generate revenue? I mean, who knows? But I would say right now there's no consideration of that. There was in the feasibility study that was done back in 2013, there was a thought about that because, there are 14 other schools like us in this country that were modeled after us because we were the first publicly funded residential high school in North Carolina, and some of those schools do bring in students from outside the state, and it's a way to bring in revenue, quite frankly. But none of them have the unmet demand that we do in their state, though. So I don't foresee that at least initially for sure. Yes, ma'am.
How many students do you have at the Durham campus currently from this area?
Oh boy, I don't know that. I should have known. I should have thought about having that number before I got here, but I didn't. I don't want to guess because I would be not accurate in that. But I can actually get that number and I can email it to Mrs. Surratt and let her know that in the Unifor region, I can tell you that as soon as I get back to my office. So I'll email you that number. Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, and again, thank you guys for your really generous support for the school from, it's really for the past couple of years, and it's been great, and the support of this region for the bond issue as a whole was tremendous. And so really appreciate that and look forward to an opportunity to work with you as this, begins to continue to take shape over the next few years. So, looking forward to it.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts.
Thank you.
Definitely exciting times. Dr. Roberts mentioned a couple of times the opportunities that this presents to this area. It has not just the opportunity to raise the profile for Morganton or Burke County, but for this entire region as the ideal location for the businesses, for the new economy, and it's a great place to raise a family and create a life as well. The campus opens new doors for unique educational opportunities for people throughout the state and serves as an economic catalyst for this particular area. So we're very lucky and thankful. We thank Dr. Roberts and his staff for all the efforts that they put in to champion the bond referendum to get this ball rolling. And, Dr. Roberts has been willing to come time and time again to this area, and we thank him for his commitment, his leadership, and his support for Morganton. So thank you for that. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight and for the Human Relations Commission to putting this together, especially Cecilia. The HRC serves as a conduit between the communities within Morganton and the city administration. And now we're looking for you to take this back to your communities, to talk to people about this opportunity, what it means for us, to follow up on this progress on the website, and to welcome this new addition to the community. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for coming out, and have a good night.